So I'm here as a motivational speaker. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to show you some things about as you're getting into choosing colleges and figuring out what your career path is going to be. I'm going to give you a different way to kind of think about it. But I need your participation though. I don't like to hear my voice for too long because that means I'm dominating conversation. So I'm going to be asking you all, each of you is going to get a chance to participate at some point in time today. I need a timekeeper. I need somebody to tell me when I'm running out of time. We're here until when? 9:45. So at about 9:40, somebody just kind of give me a flag like you reached your limit. Okay? All right, so let's go. I'm a motivational speaker. I've gone to different AVID all over U46 programs. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about today is what it means to be a genius. All right, so I'm going to write this on the board. I'm going to write this word genius on the board. And I want people to raise their hand and tell me what you think of or who you think of when you see this word genius. Yes?
Albert Einstein.
Everybody always goes with good old Albert. Albert Einstein. Who else? Or what else do you think of?
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye. Now, one thing I forgot to ask, when you do show me or tell me your answer, just tell me your name too. So I'm going to back up for a second. What's your name?
Shayla.
Shayla. And?
Ali.
Ali.
Yeah.
All right. Next, you're going to say something else for a second. All right, Ali, thank you. Who else? Yes, sir. Bill Gates. Got two Bills now on the board.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr. I'm just going to say MLK Jr. for the time. That's actually cool because I meet with other students here every Tuesday and we talk about how they're kings. And I talk a lot about what makes them a king in their particular field. Yes? Steve Jobs. So we got a lot of who's, but what words do you think of when you think of the word genius though? Shayla.
Intelligent.
Intelligent. All right. Anything else? Nothing? No? Yes?
Smart.
Smart. And what's your name?
Abby.
Abby. Thank you, Abby.
She's still optimistic.
Optimistic. She stole your optimistic.
Her name's Abby.
Optimistic. Anything else? Y'all slowing down on me. It's still early. Y'all haven't had your coffee yet?
Oh man.
Okay. Like blinking hard, like what? Yes, sir. Overachiever. Okay. The cool thing about what I'm doing is there are no wrong answers. Has anyone ever seen this before?
Yeah.
You know, what is this called? This way of brainstorming. It's a web, but it's called a mind map. So for those who are more visual thinkers, when you have to come up with like a report and you have to do an outline, sometimes this may be a better way to figure out what do I know about this particular topic that I'm about to write this report on. So the topic is on genius. You're going to write genius just like I did, and you're going to write what you know about it. And then let's say you start to focus on some of the characteristics of Albert Einstein, and this becomes its own little cloud, and then you begin to branch off of here. And like I said, when you brainstorm, there are no wrong answers. The only wrong answer is the one not given, okay? So you just keep on until you can see, all right, if you start to focus all of your attention on this, that means, you know what, I know a significant amount about this particular branch, and I'm gonna focus on that. So this is just a mind map for those who are visual thinkers. Now, I focus on genius because I'm going to redefine what that word may mean to you. What we tend to do with this word genius is we attribute it to people like Albert Einstein, who had these genius IQs. He discovered the theory of general relativity, and he would think about the sun and rays coming down, and he was able to figure out many physics and much physics and scientific postulates and theories just based off of him imagining. But not all of us think the way Albert Einstein thinks. But what I want to tell you today is that each and every one of you has a particular genius that you can tap into. That once you know what it is, you'll be able to understand like how you should focus your career and focus your college goals, okay? So when we think about genius, most of the time we put it, just like with Dr. Martin Luther King, we kind of put him on this pedestal and say he did accomplish some great things, but we kind of put it so far away that it's unattainable for us. And what we end up doing is shorting ourselves because his kingship, his genius, are things that we have direct access to as well. We might not be a king in civil rights, we might not be a genius in physics, but we have a genius somewhere that's going to impact society, it's going to impact your environment, it's going to cause you to change your sphere of influence. And as you begin to tap into that and understand it, like I said, it'll help you figure out where you should be focusing on as far as your majors in college and as far as your careers, okay? So, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to shift gears now. I'm going to go from this board to this board. Y'all follow me? Y'all ain't lose you? Okay. So you have your coffee. I'm going to write an equation on the board. I knew somebody's going to be like, oh man, no, it's too early. Don't worry, it's okay. But I'll stall for a second. Before I write this equation on the board, I'm going to ask you a very important question. This is a question that most adults don't want to hear you answer. But I'm not your typical adult. I like to hear the things that most people don't want to hear. Okay? Y'all ready? The question that I have, everybody has to answer this. And I'm going to explain why I'm asking this in a second. Tell me one thing that you hate. Not a person. Every time I do that, when I say not a person, somebody goes, oh, okay. One thing. So tell me your name and tell me one thing that you hate.
I'm Kate and I hate math.
You hate math, Cake? Okay.
Vegetables.
Shirley hates vegetables? All right. Everybody has to answer. Yes, ma'am.
Annotating.
What's your name?
Tanya.
Hanya. I thought your name was Anna for a second. So you said, got her Anna. So Hanya, and you hate annotating. Okay. Yes.
Science.
You hate science? So your name again, Abby? Got it. Exercise. What's your name?
Yes.
Okay, so your name is exercise? All right. Yes, sir.
English.
What's your name?
Jake.
Jake, and you hate English. Now I'm going to go, just to make sure I don't miss anybody, I'm just going to start to go from your right to my left. Is that right? Yeah. Yes. Society? That's kind of broad scoping. Okay, society. All right. What's your name? Maite? That's a unique name. I like that. Interesting. Did you say that already?
No, I hate reading.
Reading. All right. Shayla, tell me yours already?
Yeah, I said vegetables.
Clearly, I'm not going to remember everything that y'all hate, so you're going to have to remember yourself, all right? Because I'm going to get back to that. Yes, sir, you. Spanish? All right, what's your name, though? Aiden? What's your name in Spanish, Aiden? You know Spanish name? You got to have something. My name is Reynaldo in Spanish. I love Spanish. Go ahead, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
I don't like Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts? I was one thing you didn't like Harlan. All right? Okay, what's your name?
Alex.
Alex. Did you tell me?
No. English.
English? What's your name? What do you like? What do you hate English?
My name's Catherine.
Catherine. You hate English. Okay. You told me already, right? Yes. No.
My name is Renee. My name is
Scratching noise on a chalkboard. Yeah, I can understand that. That's pretty. I know.
My name is Ryan. I hate writing.
Writing. Somebody else said they hate writing. Did I hear that over here? Am I making up stuff? Okay, I'm making up stuff. That's
I'm Ryan. I hate math.
you hate math. Somebody definitely said math. Yeah. All right. You tell me.
My name is Dylan. I hate reading.
Dylan hates reading. Somebody did say reading, right?
Yeah.
All right. Somewhere in that vicinity. All right. Who's next?
My name is Jenny and I hate writing essays.
Jenny, you hate writing essays. This is a big class, by the way. Man, I'm gonna be done by the time. Okay.
I'm Grace and I hate waking up early.
Grace hates waking up early. All right.
I'm Gia and I hate
Gia hates tomatoes. Okay.
I'm Amanda and I hate algebra.
Amanda hates algebra. All right.
I'm Audrey and I hate I guess I hate waking up early in the morning.
Alfie hates waking up early in the morning too. Okay. Did you tell me already? Would you tell me again? Annotating. That's right. So did everybody share? Okay. Let me tell you something about what you hate. This equation I'm going to put on the board is going to let you figure out what your genius is. 3 components make up your genius, and I'm not going to tell you right. I'm going to tell you the first component. The first component of your genius is your passion. Your passion, I am going to tell you today that your passion is tied very closely to what you hate. Because the thing that you hate is the thing that you see as being broken. So when you say society, man, something about society does not function the way you think it should, and that's what you may hate about it. Society it's not fair, it's unjust. So there's something about what you don't like that you feel like is broken, and guess what? That means you're meant to fix it. So for all my people that say that there's some subject in school that you don't like or that you hate, guess what? It may be that the reason why you don't like it is because the way that it currently exists in our school structure does not cater to you. And so you don't like how it's being presented to you. That means you may be called to fix it. That means you may be a teacher. Even your teacher in the back was just like, what? It's a different way to think about it. So check this out. Here's my equation. Your genius equals your passion, moving out of space, plus your talent, plus your purpose. If you can figure this equation out, that wasn't bad. That's just simple algebra, right? I mean, not algebra. That's just math. There's no unknowns here. There is an unknown, but it's not really like an unknown like X. I'm not asking you to solve for anything yet. So this is tied to what you hate. I may ask if I have time, what you think your talent is, and then if you can figure out what your purpose is, then you can figure out your genius, how you're meant to impact the world around you, okay? So the only way that I know of to really bring this home is to share what I've discovered my genius is. And I'm gonna tell you the wrong answer to my genius, and I'm gonna tell you the right answer to my genius, okay? I'm gonna start with the right answer. So, what do I hate? I have 3 things that I feel like I'm called to fix in this world. So the first thing that I hate oh, that was like an O. Empty rap music. That bothers me to no end. What else bothers me? High tuition costs. I'm so serious. And people not knowing their identity. I'm going to write ID for short because you can all see I'm running out of space. All right. What is that? Empty rap music. So I'm an avid fan of hip hop. However, I'm not an avid fan of the condition of where this music is today. It's full of nothing. It has no content, and if it does have content, what's on the radio seems to be not helping people build, but helping people tear themselves down. And so I'm not a fan of that. And I am clearly bothered by that. I'm going to tell you how I go about fixing that. High tuition costs. I worked at ECC for about from 2005 to 2007 in the financial aid office. Then I went to Columbia College Chicago. Columbia College Chicago. I don't see that flag. I got a flag. Columbia College Chicago. I went there and worked for 8 years in financial aid. And what I began to see is that there is a discrepancy in the cost of tuition over the years. Like it's going like this. It's increasing steadily. But the financial aid that you're offered, though it's increasing at a far lesser slope. All right. So every year, this gap is getting bigger and bigger. And what it's doing is it's causing people like you who deserve to go to college to have to figure out, how am I going to afford this? Can I go? And to me, higher education should be a privilege and a right that each of you have. That's why you're in this program. However, this is becoming a real barrier for a lot of people. And I think that that's unjust. That's a part of society I don't like. Okay? So that's one thing that I'm passionate about. Once I began to see that at Columbia College, people had to take out loans just to make it through their 4 years there, I had a problem with that. Having to tell people, hey, look, you gotta take this loan out. And parents were doing all manner of stuff because the federal aid wasn't enough to assist them properly to cover their costs. Other thing I don't like, people not knowing their identity. Do you know what happens when you don't know your identity? Anybody? Anyone? No? What happens when you don't know your identity, you tend to take on whatever somebody else says you are. So, for example, if rap music is going around saying certain things about who you are, and you don't know who you are, you may start to take on those attributes because you're like, well, they talking about somebody that looks like me, so maybe that's how I am. And that's destructive. That's ruining your genius before you even get a chance to figure out who you are. One thing that most people always end up saying something about society, like they don't like prejudice in society. When somebody looks at who you are and judges you based off of what you look like. And that's a label that somebody's putting on you, and it could be correct, but most of the time it's incorrect, because how many people really know somebody just by looking at them? That rarely happens. So if somebody says, well, I know you are, I know somebody like you, so I know how all y'all act, then, and you're not stable enough in your mind to know who you are, and you get that enough, you may start to take on those attributes unnecessarily. So I can't stand that. So what I do is I go around, like I said, I go to East, I come here every Tuesday, I talk to what I call the Eastview Kings. So one thing I let them know, you're kings. You might not have thought you were kings, but you're kings. Here's why you're kings. All of you, I'm gonna call y'all kings today too, because one thing that most people attribute when they think of a king is that they're rich. You may be like, well, I don't know if I'm a king because I ain't really rich. I'm gonna be lost somewhere up in this part. But a king is rich for many different reasons, and each of you is rich in words. You have an abundance of words. How you use those words depends or determines how well of a king you are. Because if you look at history, kings that were able to use their wealth to build up their countries, to build up their kingdoms, were considered good kings. Kings who just kind of frivolously spent their money and depleted the national treasury, those aren't considered good kings. So how you use your words determines how good of a king you are. So that's free. That's part of my little you knowing your identity. But let's get into my talent though. My talent is, and I was just talking to my son about this. My son is 9 years old, and I went to a open house with him yesterday, and they had this thing where they say, figure out whose child this is. And so they would ask all types of questions and say, well, who is this based off of what they want to do? And my son, 9 years old, thought he was slick. And he put, for what he wants to be when he grows up, he put engineer. Well, my wife and myself have degrees in computer engineering, but I'm not here to talk to you about engineering today. That's a part of my genius that was actually wrong, okay? May erase this while I'm at it. But my son was like, well, I don't want to put what I want to be because then you know who I was. So I was like, are we doing alternative facts? Like, what's happening? He intentionally put engineer to throw us off because he knows, him and I have talked about how he's a wordsmith just like me. What's a wordsmith? Yes, sir.
A person like who's good with words.
A person who's good with, spot on. A person who is good with words. So just like a blacksmith is someone who's good with metal, you can give them a sheet of metal and they can create anything out of it. I'm pretty decent with words. I can craft anything from words. Most of y'all can do that too, but I'm very intentional about how I use my words to help build other people up. Okay? So that's my talent. My talent lends itself to poetry too though. So I'm a poet. That's one of the reasons, that's one of the ways that I fix empty rap music. Okay? I'm also an author. If you go to Gale Borden Library, you will see this good book here, Still Waters, in there. I released this in 2010. It's a book of poetry that challenges this nonsense here. Because though I'm a good wordsmith and most rappers are poets, I was like, I'm not gonna pick up a mic. I'm gonna pick up a pen and cause you to read and shift some paradigms on how you think. So this book, I'm not trying to like boast, but this book is full of content. It's gonna challenge you to think, okay? It's not gonna curse you out like some rap music does, right? So this is getting into how I know what my genius is and I use it to fix what I don't like. High tuition costs, how do I fix that? Not only do I offer, Eastview Kings, that's gone, I was gonna point to it. Not only do I offer workshops on being a king and workshops on career pathways and college education, but I do workshops on preparing for the cost of college, because I saw that so many people were going into higher education with a lack of understanding regarding their resources. So I go around doing workshops on that. I'm fixing the problem with my genius, okay? People not knowing their identity, that's Eastview Kings, or it's really called Fox Valley Kings, because I take them to whatever school, what have you. All right, my purpose is, I've already told you my purpose, but I'm a motivational speaker. This is what I do, y'all. I go around seeing where there's a need, offering my services, and releasing my genius on folks. So I want to back up for a second because I just want to make sure that I drive home just how common this concept of genius should be, all right? What's my shirt say? Genius is common. So that means that the person, let me see, who got the hair done like real nice? So she's like, why are you talking about somebody's hair right now? What is that? So I see a couple of y'all with your hair nice, right? Somebody might have done your hair in a shop. Somebody might have done. You might know the person on your block. Like, hey, you want to get faded up. You want to get a good twist or whatever. Go to this person down here. That's their genius. They're releasing their creative art in hair to make you look good, right? So that's their genius. Every time I come to Eastview, I look on these floors and I'm like, man, I know like 1,000 steps going these, at least 1,000 steps going these floors every day. Somebody comes in after you all leaves and gets this floor back to a shiny, pristine way before y'all came here for the day. And I'm like, they're releasing their genius on these floors because they know exactly how to get this floor to look good as if it's still new. That's a form of somebody's genius that they're releasing, okay? So when you add each of these elements up, that equals my genius. My challenge for you today, when you do your Cornell notes and you're thinking about what's the takeaway from what Mr. Reggie was saying today, I'm not asking you to figure out what your genius is, but just know this equation and keep it in the back of your mind, okay? So I'm going to show you now. This is me knowing this now. I came up with this good equation in 2016, so it's a new concept that I'm trying to release into anybody who will listen. I wish that when I was your age, everyone here is in what grade? 8th. I wish when I was in 8th grade that somebody could have told me how to figure out my genius, because it would have changed how I've gotten to where I am, because just by trial and error. But what I learn now as an adult, I should be able to pass it on to you so that you don't have to take as long to get to where I'm at. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm like I've arrived, but I know now. Can nobody tell me that I'm not a genius and what my genius isn't? Okay, but I know now because of this equation, so I'm releasing it to you so that you know too. Okay, but I'm gonna show y'all something else. I'm gonna show you. I actually like this. I can actually hide what I want to write. I'm gonna show you where I thought if I had this equation when I was in 8th grade, I'm gonna show you how my equation was wrong, and that caused me to make some wrong decisions when I got to college. All right, so my passion was, let's see, what's the name of that show? Here we go. I'm gonna have to change this. Whenever I write the show, nobody knows it. It's gonna make me feel old now. Talent was this, and my purpose. Check this out. Oh, you know it. Most people are like, no, I don't know. Then when I say Steve Urkel, they're like, oh, I know. So everybody knows Steve Urkel? Okay. So, how did this is what I hated in 8th grade. So when I got to, I had to ask everybody what your names are. When I got to middle school, nobody had to ask me what my name was. They just called me Steve. Because in 4th grade, I had the exact same frames as Steve Urkel. So when I came up in middle school, hey, Steve! I was like, you got one more time to call me Steve. I'm not going to do that because I'm small and skinny, so I'm not going to. But you got one more time. So this is what I knew I hated in middle school. I hated that show. Laura was fine. I was cool with Laura. Remember Laura, the neighbor? She was fine, but like fine in both ways. But Steve, though, had a problem with Steve. My talent was math. To this day, I love math. Sorry. I love math, okay? So I would go around helping other people that didn't have a grasp on math the way I did, though. And I still do that. I still tutor to this day, whomever, adults, middle schoolers, high schoolers, whoever, all right? And then my purpose, so everyone's seen the new Nintendo that came out, not the Nintendo Switch, but the Nintendo Mini. It came out around Christmas. It's a little so you can hold it in your, I know I got big hands, but you can hold it in your hand, though. It's really that small. It's a really small gaming system, but it's a throwback to the Nintendo 8-bit system. When I was in your age, in your grade, the only thing we had was the Nintendo, the 8-bit system. It's like at 128 bits now, or something crazy, even higher than that. But that was my life. That was my hobby, right? So I just knew that I wrote Nintendo a letter like, I'm gonna be your next computer game designer, like watch out for me. But I'm not here talking to you all day about that, am I? About how to design games and all that. I can do an app a little bit, but that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. So clearly, this equation, if you look at it, did not add up the way my equation did previously, my current equation of how I know what my genius is. But this is what I carried into college though. So when it came time for me to choose my major, I was like, I'm good at math. I don't know about Urkel, but I'm gonna be a computer programmer. So I applied to, I'm from Maryland originally, by the way. I'm East Coast, so I've been out here about 13, 14 years. Somebody said I can't even claim Maryland anymore. I'm Elton now. That's cool. But when I decided to start looking at schools, there was this one school called the University of Delaware. I don't see my school. Okay, that's cool. But Michigan though looks just like Michigan's helmet. What does Michigan's helmet look like? Somebody tell me. Huh? What colors are they? You know? Yellow and blue. I'm glad you at least got that because I'm the flag. But it's a yellow and blue flag. It's a yellow and blue helmet, and it has these. They're the Wolverines, and it has this kind of claw or something that goes all the way back. So my school kind of ripped that off because they weren't in the same division. So my school's helmet looks like Michigan's, except the blue is a little lighter, and our mascot was some trash. Our mascot was a fighting blue hen. A hen that was like knuckling up. We would just sit there and look at you like this. I'm like, that's really, that's what I'm going into. But let me tell you why, despite the mascot, that's where I went. When I applied and I said that I want to do computer programming, they gave me money. They gave me a scholarship. I was like, okay, y'all got my attention fighting blue hens. And when I went there to accept my scholarship, somebody came in and pulled me to the side. He said, hey, look, that's cool that you want to do programming, but you're kind of, if you do programming, you're kind of boxing yourself into a very small area, software. He said, you should know how to design a computer as well as how to program a computer. You should do engineering. And I was like, all right, well, engineering is cool. That's still math. So, yeah, I'll do it. And the clincher was, he said, if you do engineering, because we need minority representation on this campus, I'll give you room and board on top of your tuition. I was like, fighting blue hen, that's me. So I went to school and studied for computer engineering. Didn't pay for anything but books, okay? However, the struggle is real, y'all. When you get into anything that's worth getting, it's going to get hard at a certain point. So I started struggling right away. Like, even though in school high school I graduated at 3.8. Never had to go to help to get help from anybody. Got to college, they started talking about the good Albert Einstein and physics and stuff, and I was like, I don't know that this is for me though. I think I might change my life, reevaluate. But I stuck it out though, because I'm not a quitter. But at one point in time, I struggled because I was not in my genius. And it's not to say that when you're in your genius, you won't have hardship. You will. It's going to challenge you and make you rise to the occasion. But what also happened to me in college was, one day, as I'm going to a physics tutorial, and I never had to go to tutorials in high school. I was the one that tutored folks, remember? But I had to go to this tutorial and figure out, like, what is wrong with my life? Why is this not working for me? And while I'm going there, because I'm all sad and despondent, I'm like, y'all go here without me. I'm kicking rocks, like all sad. And this poem literally came to me out of the blue. To the point where I don't say that I wrote this poem, I say that I transcribed it. I was just like, what's that? Okay, I'm gonna write that down. By the time I got to the study session, I'm writing down this poem trying to figure out what is this? And that was in 1997. That since has put me on this career path now where I'm an author and a poet. But if I look back at it, when I was in when I was in 8th grade, I was doing my wordsmith action, but I was doing it to tear out others. So you know how I told you I was Urkel, right? That's what they called me. So to get people off of me, I started using my words to kind of battle them, because I was skinny and I couldn't really like knuckle up. I would have been on the floor. So I started like fending people off of my words. And I could draw a little bit too, so I started like drawing people, making fun of them. And it got around school, and people actually started asking me to draw them and make fun of them. It was really weird, but my wordsmithing started then. I just didn't recognize it, and I didn't use it in a proper way. Now, I don't use it to tear people down. I use it to build people up and figure out what their genius is. What am I doing on time? All right, cool. So that didn't play out. As you hear this story, I want you to really put yourself in here. So if some of the things you said, like, I don't know how hating tomatoes, who said they hate tomatoes? Yeah, I don't know, Gia, I don't know what to tell you. How you gonna fix tomatoes so you don't hate them? It's okay though if you don't have your passion in the right place right now. Because now I've identified for you how you should really begin to focus on what it is that you're meant to fix in this world, that when you see it broken, it just annoys you. Like, man, I can't stand that to no end when somebody does that, or when this doesn't operate the way it's supposed to. One of the kings that I worked with last week, he told me that one thing that he doesn't like when electronic devices don't work. Do you know what this brother told me he did? He said that he said, I know that when you have a wire, most of the time it's going to have a black and a red wire on the inside of it, because one is for grounding the electricity and one is for letting the electricity flow. This dude sliced open the wire, saw the two cables, and was like, this charger's not working, and messed with the cables until he got the charger to work. And he was like, it didn't work right away, but he was like obsessed with it. He was like, I can't stand it. This is not working. I'm going to keep at it until I get this thing to work. That's what your genius looks like. Because this, if you can think back to when I said like empty rap music, this thing that I'm talking about trying to fix myself, that's a huge undertaking. Because that type of music is permeating all of the radio waves. But I'm working on a second book right now that talks about what happens when the music that you listen to does not have any content or value in it, what it does to your thinking, what it does to your character. And so this is my way of, again, releasing my genius so that I can fix what really, really bothers me. Does this type of thinking make sense to you? Does this kind of change what are some of the majors y'all thinking about going to college for? Have you been thinking? Yes?
Forensics.
Forensics. All right. Can you think about how forensics is tied to what you now know to be your genius equation? Tell me.
Forensics need math and science together, and I hate math, but I'm good at it, so
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons I want to go into forensics, because it's something I want to do, and I really like science, but the math I'm good at, so.
Okay. So what do forensics folks, what do they fix?
They basically, it's solving crime, but
They solve crime.
down the street, you're in a lab.
Right. Most of the time, it's not just the crime that's like easy for everybody to figure out, like he did it, but taking the evidence that's rarely there, that's almost unseen, and using that to crack a case, even a cold case, right? So is that something that you desire to do? And that brings justice to an injustice. So is that what you see your passion to be?
No.
Cool. No, you see it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? What is it that you're thinking about majoring in college? And do you think it fits into this equation or not? So, photography and art. So you may look at a day like this and be like, you know what, this is just dreary. You know, a lot of people enter into fall and winter, and they get depressed because their environment around them just looks really dull and it's not very colorful. But what you release into the world through your art could help. Somebody could have it up in their room and then be able to focus on that. Like, you know what, I can get through the day and take a first period special guest speaker. Even though I don't have my coffee, because I looked at this good picture from Shayla, and I'm encouraged now, and I see bright colors, and now that can improve somebody's outlook for the day. Your art can do that. Your art can release your genius that way. So I don't know if that's necessarily, but this is something I'm just